Some time ago, I devoted myself to a project to interview people who had actually died and gone to heaven or hell and returned to share about it. And I picked a few that I thought were really, really credible. I want you to listen to an interview I did with a man who claimed that he died for an hour and 45 minutes. And while doctors were attempting to resuscitate him, he claims he was actually transported to heaven for a face-to-face conversation with Jesus himself. Take a look. You died.
Yes, died for an hour and 45 minutes.
And they worked on you for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yes.
What happened? Did you know you were dying?
Well, what happened was I went into the hospital for a routine kidney operation. And I also had a kidney infection. And the doctor at the time thought he gave me the right antibiotics to kill the infection. So when they went to blast the stones, you know how they break them up and everything like that so you can pass them, they literally pushed the infection, because it was still there, into my bloodstream. And I became what you call sepsis. And it spread throughout my entire body, and every vital organ in my body started shutting down. So that's what happened. That's really, I always tell people, they measure it by how long my heart stopped operating, but I really suffocated.
The picture that I'm sure all of us have heard before is going through this tunnel towards light. Is that what you experienced?
Well, yes, that's what I experienced. Not so much the tunnel, is when I left this body, I always like to bring it back to the scriptures. It means how me and you talked about it. To be absent from the body is to be in the presence of the Lord. Faster than a person can blink, I was there. I always let people know that. You know, it's really half of a blink. But when I left this body to go be where the Father and Jesus is, I literally left the hospital, I left our universe, I went through this dark area where there's no light at all, and what you see is you see heaven. And so you go into heaven when you go through this blackness and you enter in, and then it's brighter than you can ever imagine. You even come to realize that you really are children of the light, because there was no darkness in that light at all.
It's brighter than anything
It's brighter than, yes.
Talk about the landscape of heaven. You're now in heaven. Vibrant colors, live.
Yeah.
Talk about the landscape.
You know, one of the most amazing things that got me when I first got there is that everything's alive. There's nothing dead there. Everything is alive. I've gone through the scriptures and pointed out, like in the 10th chapter of Revelation, where it talks about the 7 thunders, because even the atmosphere is alive. And it doesn't say something sounded like thunder. It says the 7 thunders spoke, and then John was told, no, he can't talk about it. You know, there's an eagle flying around in the 8th chapter proclaiming things. So you know that the animals there can talk. The 16th chapter, which is amazing, the 7th verse says, and the altar spoke. That would be like this table being there in heaven speaking. And then the 19th
So you're saying objects are alive as well?
Yes, everything. Because God is a God of life. So everything he produces is alive. You know, even his throne, it says in the 19th chapter, says something. So everything is alive when you enter in, and you're welcomed by everything.
Not only did you see heaven, but I want to jump to this. You came face to face with Jesus.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I want to focus on that, because I've talked to people that have been to heaven, but not everyone that has visited heaven has had an experience with Jesus, face to face with Jesus. You had a conversation.
Yes, well, what I said to Jesus when I first saw him, as I looked at him, I said, you did this for me. Coming to the realization, the only reason I was there, Jonathan, is because of what he had done. Not even my works got me in. And someone says, what do you mean? I came to understand, even me right now talking to you, it's him using me. It's him going through me. He gets the credit. I don't get the credit. And the Bible tells us to do everything as we do unto the Lord. So I came to understand that not even my works got me in. Jesus got me in all the way. And all I could do was say, you did this for me.
You were a believer already, but this was a new dimension of understanding.
This was a whole new dimension. And then the next things I said were this. I said, thank you, 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 thank you. You know, and everything about me was praising him. I always tell people the first thing I was praising him for was this. He looked at me like I never sinned in my entire existence. Like I never did anything wrong. When he says that he forgives you, he forgets it.
Dean, you knew all this already, though. You were born again, Spirit-filled believer. You knew this already.
You know a lot of these things.
I could talk to you all night, but we just have time for one more point, and that is prayer. The power of prayer, much, much more powerful
Yes.
than we can realize. Talk about prayer, what
Well,
you learned in heaven.
One of the things I first learned was this. When I left my body to be absent from the bodies to be in the presence of the Lord, I said earlier, it's faster than you can blink. And yet the prayers that people were praying for me and others were passing me by. If you were praying on that day, May 5th, 2006, and you gave me a head start, your prayers would beat me there. And they're prayers from the heart. I came to understand they have no shelf life. You know, there is no expiration date. Or when I was in New Zealand, they said use by date, you know, that literally if they're from the heart, God is literally holding on to them to literally act upon them. You know, in the Bible, in Acts the 10th chapter, we came to understand when the angel talked to Cornelius, he said, your prayers and your good deeds are a memorial before God.
And if you pray for somebody, you'll pray them in. You pray them into heaven.
I came to understand this. It is awful hard for a person that you're praying for to go to hell. They have their own decisions. They can choose it, but God Almighty is after them. And He knows every movement they're going to be making.